Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ruby, this is Ruby Red, and today I'm going to tell you about the last 5 books that I finished. Okay, so it's been a minute. I told you it would be a minute, and I was right. Good on me. Let's go. So the first book that I finished was The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V. Schwab. This book has been talked about a lot in the last couple of months. And if you are lucky enough not to have heard the synopsis like 100 times, I will say it now. This book is about Addie, a young woman growing up in a tiny little village somewhere in France in the 16-somethings, and she wants more from life. So she makes a deal with the god of darkness to live forever. But the cost is that nobody remembers her. She can leave no trace. So even like writing, she can't write, she can't, paint on anything. And as soon as she leaves someone's space, immediate surroundings, line of sight, they forget her. They forget all about her and the interaction. So that's kind of tough. The story's told by switching back and forth between her past and her present. The present is in New York City today-ish, and then the parts of her past are, her origin story, and also all of the sort of interactions that she's had with this god of darkness, Luke, over the years. And I thought this was a great book. I thought it was very beautifully written. It's kind of flowery, but I don't know, it felt nice. It was very, very romantic, like of a vibe, because there's a lot of nostalgia and you're just thinking a lot about impermanence and connection and memory. And it's also, some might call it repetitive, but I will use the word rhythmic. There was definitely a very strong rhythm to the story because of how she meets people for the first time over and over again. I mean, the end was stupid. And her main personality trait, Addie's main personality trait, seems to be that she is just extremely stubborn. And I don't like that. I don't like reading a character who is just like, she has dug her teeth in and she will not let go. Like, as a matter of principle. And I do not admire that level of principles. I don't know. I was just like, I felt petty at times. Anyway, I gave that 4 stars. I did really like it. All right, the next book that I finished was Spying on Whales by Nick Piensen, maybe? This was an audiobook. I listened to the audiobook. I like to listen to nonfiction books. Anyway, this was not good. I was honestly so disappointed by this book. I was so excited, especially because I've recently discovered how amazing octopuses are. And so I was, looking forward to more like ocean learning. It's a whole other world down there. I was wanting to think about whales. This book talked about like whale history and whale biology and whale sociology. It was a full whale curriculum, and yet I was not gripped even once. The most fun I had was when I would start just like Google imaging some of the whales, and that was sick because whales are sick, but this book was not good. It was just literally so boring. No zest. It just sucks how a book could be so like not interesting when it's written about something so interesting. I don't know. I think that somebody else should rewrite this book to make it cohesive and to make it like fun and engaging. Yeah, not good. Anyway, I gave it 2 stars because, whales. Okay, the next book I read is Girl, Woman, Other by Bernardine Evaristo. This was amazing. This book was so good, and if you haven't read it, I really think that you should read it. Everyone should read this. It's kind of long, so I get that, but it's the story of like a dozen people, mostly women. Every chapter covers a different life, essentially, and they do connect. And there is a flowchart. If you just Google Girl, Woman, Other flowchart, you'll find like a little, it's not really a family tree. It's kind of is a little bit like the chart from the L Word. And I found that very helpful to be able to look at and reference. What to say? I mean, what is it about? Okay, it's about life. It's about womanhood. It's about privilege and loss and like finding your path and like identity versus like personal identity versus family identity. There's a lot. And each chapter really puts you into the headspace of the person whose story you're reading. Their like attitude, their like way of thinking and way of seeing the world really comes through. And that is fantastic writing. Like, that's amazing when an author can really pull you into all these different headspaces. Like, wow, I was wowed. And just something else that I didn't know was that it's written sort of in verse, and I found this initially to be unsettling, and then I was like, wow, yeah, this is poetry. And then I kind of forgot completely about it. I didn't even notice it, and it didn't have that much of an impact on me. Anyway, yeah, it was a really amazing book. Wow. If you only read one book from this video, you should read this one. Hands down. Even like if you only read one book this year, it should be this one. I'm gonna go that far and say that. I'm really, now that I'm thinking about it even more, I'm like, oh my god, that book was something else. And we love a chart. 5 stars for sure. Next, I read Gin Patrol on the Purple Line by Deepa Anapara, and this was pretty good. I read this because I am doing Buzzwordathon this year, and the Buzzword challenge for February was to read a book with a color in the title. So this has a color in the title. Great. It's about a 9-year-old boy trying to solve the case of a missing classmate. He lives in a really small, really poor village in India, kind of bordered by like an up-and-coming neighborhood. The book is about Jai and his 2 friends trying to solve this missing case, and it's good because you're reading from the perspective of a child. So he has this like innocence about him. He doesn't understand a lot of things. He doesn't know like how to be serious. So yeah, this book is generally, it's a mystery, but it also gets into issues of religious violence and poverty and human trafficking, child trafficking, etc. And all of that is pretty dark, and I thought that the way that all of that was woven together into this one story was honestly fantastic. I think that, yeah, the author did a fantastic job, but I also, like, there was no ending that was going to satisfy me. Like, by the time I was like 2/3 done with this book, I was concerned about what the ending was going to be, and I was trying to imagine several different ways that it could wrap up, and none of them were satisfying. And then the way that it actually did wrap up was like still not satisfying. So that's kind of a bummer to read a whole book and just like know that the ending is not gonna give you what you wanted, but it's also like a lack of closure, kind of relates to the theme of like children going missing and a police force and a government that absolutely don't care about it. Anyway, I gave this 3 stars because, yeah, it was a good book. I liked it, but I wanted a different ending. Anyway, yeah. The fifth and final book that I finished is Homegoing by Ya Gyasi. Yeah, this was good. I really liked this. This was my book club book for February. Whoever picked this, I don't remember, but a good one because it was really good. Sort of similar structurally to Girl, Woman, Other. So we have every chapter sort of telling the story of a new character, and they're all connected. In this case, they're extremely connected. At the beginning, we are introduced to these two half-sisters in Ghana in the 1700s, I think. And then we sort of go back and forth going down their like family tree. And one of the sisters stays in Ghana and the other one is captured and then sold into slavery. And her family line lives in the United States. Every chapter is a new story, and it's not a long story. It's usually, we would just get like a small snippet of that person's life, and usually like around their marriage or around the time that they had their child or children. And sometimes there is also reference to, you know, parent characters that you know before, grandparents, so that was kind of cool. There was definitely like threads of connection running deeply through the story taking place in Ghana, but the threads were broken up several times in the stories taking place in America because of slavery. Yeah, I really liked reading this. I kind of thought it was over too soon. I would have liked to get a little bit more from some of these character stories. The ending, I had some problems with, personal problems. But overall, it was an amazing story. I think that any book that tackles so many characters, so many lives in one book, and this book is not very long, that's amazing. And I have never read anything set in Ghana before. I did not know really anything about the slave trade going on in Africa and on the Gold Coast specifically. So I learned some history there about a part of the world and a part of the past that I didn't know anything about. So that's on me. And fantastic book. And I really want to read Transcendent Kingdom now, also by Ya Gyasi. So there you go. Fantastic read. 4 stars. Whatever. Not everything can be Girl, Woman, Other, you know. That's it. Those are the last 5 books that I finished. I really hope that you're going to read Girl, Woman, Other if you haven't already, and that you're not going to read Spying on Whales. Find a different whale book. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, please comment down below and tell me what you're reading right now. My TBR list is insatiable. I will read it. Whatever it is, I want to read it. Please make sure that you're subscribed so that you don't miss the next episode of this, and I will see you then. Thank you so much. Goodbye.